Okay, so we have a few minutes before we hear from our special guest. So we did want to get some feedback on your homework assignment, and we'd be interested to hear if any of you would like to share an elevator speech, because especially as incoming presidents now and presidents starting in July, you will be put in situations where people will be asking you about Rotary. And so one of the homework assignments from Bob was to develop an elevator speech. So do we have any volunteers to?
I'll volunteer, Jeff.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm with Del Norte Rotary, and what I would say is we're a club of like-minded service, we're a club of like-minded service-oriented friends who work together to impact our community, themselves, and the world.
Nice. Very good. Thank you, Clarence. Would anyone else like to share? Please feel free to unmute and share your elevator speech, or Dean, go ahead.
Yeah. We make a difference in people's lives. We're people of action, people meeting people. We have programs that deal with education, that fight polio in the world. We've been one of the major factors in eliminating polio in many countries. We have programs that help with water sanitation, save many lives of people by having clean water for them to consume. And we provide service to our local community.
Excellent, thank you. Who else would like to share? And again, because there's so many people, I may not see you if you raise your hand. So just
this is Gordon.
Go ahead, Gordon.
Let me tell you about this pin I'm wearing. It's a Rotary pin. Rotary is an international organization consisting of about 2 million members in 200 countries. And we have a club in Angel Fire. Our motto is service above self. We are, I guess, one of our claim to fame is our international projects, particularly fighting polio in this world. And Rotary has just about eradicated polio in the entire world. We also do community projects. One of our community projects is a community garden. We also do senior scholarships. And in addition to service, we also are a fellowship club where we get to know one another and people in our community. If you would like to come to one of our meetings, please join us. We have a lot of interesting speakers. It's a long elevator.
That's great. That's great. Thank you. Who else would like to share?
I'm happy to share mine.
Go ahead, Ken. Thank you.
Mine is, for me, Rotary is about connections. And some of those connections are about business, some are about charity, some are about service, and some are about friendships. So where do you look for connections?
Ooh.
Mm.
Leave him with a question.
Yeah, good question.
Because they're obligated to answer. Otherwise, I mean, I know for myself, if I get a question and I don't answer it, I don't sleep the following night. So yeah, you'll get an answer to your question. Before we go on, because we're gonna have breakout sessions later. We have someone on a phone, 575-343-0159. Who is this? Just so I can name you.
Dawson Dinsmore.
Got it. Thank you, Dawson.
Sorry about that. I'm just multitasking this morning.
Not a problem. Okay, who else would like to share? Any other volunteers?
Hi, Jeff. This is Anne.
Hi, Anne.
And I guess I did a targeted elevator speech, and it was a little longer than that, but we needed a CPA in our club to fill a particular role that we were missing, where someone had resigned. So I basically recruited this person to the job that we needed filled. And he's pretty much immediately become engaged with what we do by seeing what we do.
That's great. Thank you. Who else would like to volunteer? And again, I can't see everyone, so just go ahead and unmute and give us your elevator speech.
Hi, I'm George Adams. I'm with Rotary International and with our club here in Artesia, New Mexico, new president-elect. I'm grateful to be a part of the organization here locally and get Rotary's major cause is to eradicate polio on an international level, and it's been able to eradicate it for all but 2 countries in the world. And on a community level, we've been able to provide dictionaries to the local schools as one of our community service efforts, and clean up the community to some extent. And what I'm really excited about is meeting some of the members in our local club and their willingness to reach out to others and to affiliate them with Rotary. And we've got some good ideas for fundraisers and some new ideas. I appreciate that very much. And I look forward to working with the members of the team.
Awesome. Thank you, George. We have a couple of minutes before Director Vicky gives her presentation. So who else would like to volunteer?
I'm the other George.
Nice to meet you, George.
Yes. Rotary is about having fun, learning new things, and serving the community. We have fun by meeting once a week for lunch with a great group of people. We learn new things by having a different guest speaker every week. And we serve the community by buying dictionaries for every 3rd grader in Los Lunas, and by buying children's clothing for needy families at Christmas. And actually, this is just the tip of the iceberg of who we are and what we do. So why don't you come join us for lunch? We meet every Tuesday at noon at Ribs Barbecue, and see what I mean.
That's great. And if you've been to Ribs Barbecue, that's a selling point too.
Yes, but there's 2. There's one in the East Mountains, and I don't know anything about that one.
Well, they don't have a Rotary Club in the East Mountains, so.
We don't, isn't there, well, we don't have one anywhere. Like the closest is like Moriarty or something, right?
Right.
Ribs is in Cedar Crest, and it's very nice.
It is. That's great.
Yes.
Okay, who else would like to volunteer? Bill, go ahead.
Yeah, Rotary is about people who speak the truth, who build meaningful and beneficial connections, and also work to the benefit of our community through varied projects.
Excellent.
Short, sweet, to the point.
Hey, that's great. Thank you. Any other volunteers?
Hey, Jeff, good morning. It's Keith Erickson. How are you?
Hey, Keith.
Good. I'm glad you asked that question. Rotary is formed about 115 years ago, formed to eradicate polio. Pardon me. That was a middle of an Amber Alert. I apologize.
Oh, wow.
Rotary is formed about 115 years ago to eradicate polio. As we look at today, our club in Northeast El Paso, we're dedicated to blessing the lives of the less fortunate in this town.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Another minute or 2 before we turn it over to Vicky. So any other volunteers?
I'd like to volunteer.
Go ahead.
I'm Denny from Sunrise Rio Rancho Rotary, and I was asked this last night. So what is it that you do in Rotary? And I said, well, we have international projects where we build bridges for people to cross the river if they're going to have a baby on one side and get to the other side. We have water projects all around the world that we've been working on. And community service is what we do here, and I named all of the different things that the events that we're working on, flags, and we're having a gala this April 3rd, a gala on Zoom. How much fun can that be? And it's free. You have to come and see what we're doing. And it's just going to be a really fun event. And so hopefully you all read your newsletters and got the brochure, because this is going to be fun. And we meet at 7 in the morning till 8, and bam, we're out of there because everybody's busy and everybody's incredible, and we are the best group ever. So I'm inviting people, as I say, what is Rotary? Oh boy, do they get an earful, because Rotary is family. So this is my little baby elevator speech.
Oh, that is great. Thank you. All right, we may have some time later this morning to do some more elevator speeches. So, but thank you all for, and again, this is something that's going to happen if it hasn't happened already. So it's good to have have this in your back pocket. So, Bob, would you like to go ahead and introduce our very special guest?
I will, Jeff. Thank you. And also, I want to welcome our Governor, Sonny Kellerman, with us again today. Thanks for joining us today, Sonny. Appreciate that. It is my extreme pleasure to welcome our Zone Director-elect, Vicki Pulitz, to our PETS session today. Vicki and I have spent the better part of the last 2 years together. She's been providing me a lot of the training that I've been going through to become the best governor I can be. I've really enjoyed all the time that she's spent with us. She is probably one of the most positive Rotarians that I've ever run into. She's always got a bright smile. She's got wonderful ideas and thoughts about how to be a good governor, and shared those with us without hesitation. Also, she's from the Rotary Club of Sparks, Nevada, which is, I guess she said, just across the river from Reno, and a beautiful country up there. And her husband and I share something else. We are both in the International Fellowship of Flying Rotarians. So we have something else in common there too. So Vicki very graciously agreed to join us today and grace us with her words on why Rotary. So I'll turn it over to Vicki. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Bob. And my husband, Tim, is down at the airport in Carson City today. Yes, he's already down with the airplane. So hello, everybody. It's so good to see all of you. What a great morning this is. And thank you for being here. So hello, Rotary leaders, specifically, hello, presidents-elect. You are embarking on an exciting adventure in leadership as president of your Rotary Club. Congratulations. You are people of action, and you've been selected by your peers as a person they respect and admire, a person they trust to lead them in the coming year. And what an amazing time to lead your club. These past months of profound change have opened our eyes to the fact that we can do things differently in Rotary. These past months have given us a chance to pause and to prioritize. And we've been witnessing the incredible capacity of our members and our clubs to innovate and to adapt, finding new ways to connect, to lead, and to serve. So we're here as part of your preparation, your final day of preparation to serve your club as president. And you're getting lots of great information, aren't you? So kudos for your participation in these learning opportunities, and also for taking the time to interact and share ideas with your other presidents-elect. So this morning, I'd like to focus on what I think is going to be most important to you in the year ahead, and also to share a framework for us all to use, a roadmap that we describe as our 4 action plan priorities. So these are 4 priorities that came from Rotarians and Rotaractors as part of surveys, interviews, and focus groups that resulted in our vision statement, and it's where these 4 big ideas came forward. And I like to mention that because I think, like all the great things that happen in Rotary, the best ideas come from our members. And these 4 priorities came from Rotarians and Rotaractors, like increasing our impact, recognizing that we're really good at doing things, really good things. I mean, I heard about some of them already this morning in your What's Rotary talks, but we don't always measure and we don't always focus our efforts to make sure that we're creating that lasting change that we describe in our vision, or expanding our reach, finding new ways for people who also want to do good things to be part of Rotary. Or enhancing participant engagement. Let's see, I think that's there. Or increasing our ability to adapt. I'm a little bit in the way of the 4 priorities. Can you imagine, when we think about these 4 priorities, can you imagine if all the Rotary clubs in the world and all the Rotarians in the world were working in the same direction using these priorities? Wow, where would our organization be? Where would your club be? It's an incredible thought. So keeping this roadmap in the background, let's focus on what's going to be most important for you in the year ahead. And to get to that, let's start with why. Why are you a Rotarian? Why do you care so much about this organization? Now, certainly this is a question you've considered. In fact, I bet you thought about it when you were preparing your elevator speeches to answer the question of what's Rotary? But let's go back to why. Why are we Rotarians? For some of us, the reasons why we're a Rotarian may be quite different than the reasons why we joined our club. For instance, when I joined my club, it was for business networking reasons. I really didn't know anything else about Rotary. Now, when I ask myself why am I a Rotarian? It takes me back to my first RILA camp, Rotary Youth Leadership Awards. With 120 high school juniors coming together for a week of leadership training in the beautiful Sierra Nevada mountains. It was a board break on the last day of camp. So this is a process where campers face obstacles in their lives that are holding them back from their goals and their dreams. On one side of a board, the campers write what they want to achieve. Maybe that's going to college, a happy life, more confidence. On the other side of the board, the campers write the obstacles, things that are getting in the way of them achieving these goals and dreams. Maybe it's something like fear of failure, problems in their family, or not trusting others. This is a really impactful process. And you'll see campers at the end of the week taking these 2 pieces of broken board home with them like they're the most precious things in the world. Well, on this particular day, one of the girls, Sophie, could not break her board. So you can see how it's done. There's 2 concrete blocks. The board goes across the blocks. You're down on one knee and you break through the board, through the obstacles. Well, as I said, Sophie could not break her board. And pretty soon, all of the other kids are done. 119 teenagers are all finished. Sophie is sobbing. Everybody's waiting. What do you do? You know, it would have been so easy to go on to the next process and figure that Sophie would be fine. But no, our camp director got down on one knee with her. And he talked to her very calmly about how she could break through those obstacles. You see, it was never about a board to her. And then every other camper, without being asked, surrounded Sophie, putting their hands up in support and not saying anything except for a few soft, encouraging words. This was amazing to see 16 and 17-year-olds who just a few days before had nothing in common with Sophie, doing everything they could to support her and completely respecting her struggle. When she finally broke that board, it was a success felt by everyone there. Sophie gained some personal insights and strength that day that she may never have gotten any other way. Tools that will help her the rest of her life, and the knowledge that she's not alone. That's why I'm a Rotarian. We can make a difference and change a life. And when we change that life, it changes us. Think about your own experience. Have you changed someone else's life for the better by your involvement in Rotary? Have you had your own life changed for the better through Rotary? Think about the power, the impact of sharing these personal stories, these stories of why you are a Rotarian, these stories of how you have changed lives and how your own life has been changed. We may have more than one why, and it's not always easy to put our why into words. But when we do, it's a powerful message. And it's a message that resonates both emotionally and intellectually, building pride, clarifying purpose, and creating engagement with our members and our participants, and expanding our reach to attract and welcome others who would like to participate or to know more. But let's start with the people in our own club. How does your club and Rotary provide value and relevance to each of your members? As club president, how are you going to discover their why and fully engage them? I think it comes down to love and to leading with joy. As a Rotary leader, to love your club and your members, and in turn, to make your members love Rotary. It's all about putting our members' priorities at the heart of what we do. So let's use the word love with the letters L, O, V, and E as a framework. L is for listening. Ask questions and listen carefully to find the unique ways that your club provides value. Take the time to find out why your members are part of Rotary. How do they want to connect with the other members and the broader world of Rotary? How do they want to serve others? What are their own needs for leadership development or personal and professional growth? What are the skills and talents they bring? What are the passions they want to pursue? Each club is different and special. You get to decide how to best get to know your members. In a small club, you may want to talk with each of your members individually and make that connection in a personal way. Maybe in your club, it'd be better to do this in small groups and ask other club leaders to be part of the process of truly finding out what your members want. You might even choose to use a survey, and be sure to include a follow-up with the club to share what was learned and to talk about how that input from each of the members is going to be used to inform the future of the club. Find out why Rotary is important to your members to better understand what will engage them. Likely, you're going to find out that service is part of what they want to get from their Rotary experience, to serve others and to be part of something larger than themselves. The great news is that when you know more about your members' skills and passions, it's easier to connect what your members want with the needs of your community and of the world. O is for being open to opportunities, listening with an open heart and an open mind. Your members will have ideas to make your club more valuable, more relevant to them. Be open to ideas, to adapt and innovate, to better serve your members and to engage them in what they are interested in to make them love Rotary. And being open to new ideas will help energize your club with some new service opportunities and maybe even some new partnerships to consider with other clubs to do a Rotary Day of Service or other organizations or individuals, expanding your reach while you enhance engagement. And take into consideration the long-term effect and increasing the impact of your service projects as we all strive to create lasting change. Let's put all of these 4 priorities to work. You have the flexibility to do things differently. We're on to V, and V is about our values: friendship, integrity, diversity, service, and leadership. You all know these are more than just words to Rotarians. We live these values every day. So use our core values as your guide, as the foundation of what makes us Rotary, as you respond to the changes that your members want. E is for energy and enthusiasm. As club president, you set the tone. You can be inspirational, be transformational, be fun, and be joyful. Everybody does this a little differently. Think about your own strengths and your own gifts. What is most important is to be yourself, to be authentic, and to be relentlessly positive. Remember, your club members selected you to be their club president and to lead them. When we meet the goal of our members loving Rotary, when we meet the goal of our members loving Rotary, we accomplish great things. The first of which is to truly engage our members, providing value and relevance to each of them as part of Rotary, as we then turn to serve our community and the world. If we truly engage our members, everything else good will follow, all of these priorities. Remember, as club president, you don't have to do it all. Your job is to listen to your members' needs, be open to change for the better, stay true to our values, and set the tone with positive energy and enthusiasm. Maya Angelou is quoted as saying, "At the end of the day, people won't remember what you said or did. They will remember how you made them feel." So make your members the center of your attention. Make them feel cared for, respond to their needs, and they will love Rotary. You have the power to lead differently. You have the power to lead with joy. You have the power to have your members love Rotary. It is all about your leadership and your focus to engage and serve your members first to change lives. In my experience, being club president, the job that you're just about to take is the very best job there is in Rotary. In my opinion, your job as club president is the most important job there is in Rotary. I want to thank you for serving. The world needs Rotary now more than ever before. And this is Rotary's time to shine. This is your time to shine as the president of your club. And you've got this. Have an incredible year ahead as you serve to change lives. And thank you for having me with you today.
Thank you, Director Vicky. That was awesome. That was very good. I love the use of the word love. I love the word love. We as district leaders love our presidents-elect, and they love their members and their clubs. And we're all a family.
That's right.
And we're all a family, and we all have, like all families, we all have different personalities in our families. And we agree with each other sometimes, and sometimes we don't, but we always love each other. And we always have each other's best interest in mind with everything we do. And so I appreciate your support. I appreciate your words today. Thanks for joining us. And you're certainly welcome to stay along with us through the day, or jump in and jump out as appropriate, as it works for you. But again, thanks a lot for joining us and sharing all these those great thoughts and inspirational words. Thank you very much.
Thanks so much, Bob. And best wishes to all of you. It's great to see you online today.
Yeah.
Director, can you stay for a few minutes
Sure.
to answer any questions?
Absolutely. And I have some questions too, if we don't get any for me.
Perfect. So again, I did have to mute a few people while Director Vicky was talking. So if I do, please make sure that you can unmute if you want to ask questions, and we'll just kind of monitor that throughout the day. So who has a question for Director Vicky?
Yes, this is Debbie Cox. And Vicky, I'd like to better understand what your current role is in Rotary and what those responsibilities include.
Okay, so I'm actually the director-elect, so I'll begin my term the same time you begin your term as club president on July 1st. I have a 2-year term serving on the International Board of Directors. So there are 17 members from around the world on the board of directors. And so in addition, so part of that responsibility is setting policy and considering the things that as an organization of 35,000 Rotary clubs and 1.2 million members around the world, the decisions that we make on an international level. In addition to that, as a director, I have responsibility for 30 districts in the western part of the United States. And it's the 30 districts cover 14 states and 1 province in Canada and about 70,000 Rotarians. And so in that role, providing resources that support you all in your role in a club, complementing what your district provides. as support. So if you want to think about it as a pyramid, and our members are on the top, the broadest part of the pyramid are our members, and they're on the top. It's an inverted pyramid, and it goes down this way to Rotary International, who's there to support our clubs and our members.
Thank you.
Other questions for Director Vicky? Real quickly, and this is, I'm just going to share my screen for a second. There's another website that you should become familiar with, and that's our zone website. So
yes.
1 second. So please make a note of this. There's a lot of outstanding information on our zone website. And as Director Vicky was kind of explaining, we are paired with another zone, which is north of our zone. And she is director for both our zone and the zone just north of us. So again, please check out this website. It's got great information. I don't know, Sunny or Bob, if you have any input, or Vicky, it's a wealth of information. And a lot of times zones get, they don't get enough, we don't understand them as much. They're not as intimately involved in our day-to-day Rotary activities, but we have a wonderful zone with a lot of great information and a lot of great support.
So Jeff, if you could click on About Us for just a second.
Sure.
So that shows a bit of the map. I think if you just held it there for a moment, it would, yeah, it shows our map, all our 30 districts there. And so that shows you a little bit of our blessings of breadth and width and your zone team, and then also some resources. This website is constantly updated with new resources for each of you. For instance, there's a speakers bureau that we're going to put some attention to because it doesn't quite meet our expectation of having a robust list of people for you. If you're looking for a speaker for a virtual meeting that could complement what you're doing in your club, that would be a place to find it. Also other resources. So just keep watching the website. It gets better all the time. And if there's certain things that you would like to have on the zone website, we're happy to hear from you about that as well. Thanks for bringing that up, Jeff.
You got it. Other questions for Director Vicky? Because I know she has some questions for us.
I've got one question, Director Vicky. You know, everybody knows we're having a district conference. The Rotary International Conference is coming up. That's going to be virtual.
Correct.
But something I wasn't aware of until I got into this DG chain was the zone assemblies,
Yes.
Zone Institute. And we're having one in Tucson this fall. And I think it's going to, I'm almost positive it's going to be in place. Could you share some words about that and what's going on with that currently?
So the Institute is a bit like a district conference, maybe like a district conference on steroids. It's a place where we come together to share ideas, to be updated on what's happening in Rotary, to make those connections, to celebrate successes, and to look forward to what we need to be doing in our clubs to help make our clubs stronger and to provide more value to our members. And so that's happening in Tucson in November. I have to say there is an incredible amount of pent up demand to be together in person. And right now the hotel is sold out and the registrations are over 600. But all Rotarians are invited to these events, these institutes that are held at the zone level. And so keep your eyes open for that. In 22, we plan to do 6 summits for change around our entire geography, around our entire zone. And so that might be something you would like to be interested in as well. Different topics, six different summits that not only are provided for Rotarians, but also a way for us to create more awareness of what we do in Rotary to the outside world. So we'll be including an element of including the community into whatever those summits are. So you can watch for that information as well.
Excellent, excellent. Also, I've got a suite reserved, and we will be having a big party to celebrate our incoming governor, John Drusendam. He'll be elected and he'll become our short order. He'll be becoming our district governor in 2022, and we're going to have a big party for him in my suite. So you're all invited to join us that evening.
I've got my fingers crossed we're going to be there in person, Bob. I'm certainly hoping for it. You know, one of the things we've learned through these last months is that there are a lot of people who would like a hybrid component of any event that we do. And so we're also looking at that, of how can we provide, for instance, the speakers. If we bring in a great speaker, like you're having Steve Farber at your conference, if we can provide something like that, even if you're not able to travel to Tucson and be there in person, that you would have access to some of that information. So we're working on that as well. One of those things we learned through these last months that can help us innovate and adapt.
We have a question in the chat from Kathy. Kathy, do you want to unmute, or do you want me to just go ahead and ask your question?
You can go ahead. I'm coughing right now.
Got it. Okay. So Kathy asks, can you review the love again?
Oh, okay. So LOVE, listen is the big one. To be open to opportunities, to stay true to our values, and E is for leading with energy and enthusiasm.
Excellent. Thank you.
Awesome.
And you definitely have that, Vicki.
Oh, thank you. I am so energized by club presidents. I just think you, as I said, you have the very best job there is in Rotary. I've had a lot of jobs in Rotary. I still believe being club president is the very best job there is in Rotary. And I'm so excited for each of you to have a fabulous year ahead.
Other questions for Director Vicki? I have a question. We've been hearing a lot about membership trends in the United States over the last few years. I'm wondering if you can talk for a minute about how the Western region is doing, if it's kind of tracking the country, or if there's any different trends, and if so, why that may be.
All right, and so some really good data is available for you back on that zone website that Jeff showed a little bit earlier. We have a 14-year membership history for each district. And if you click on the tabs at the bottom of the spreadsheet, it's a big Excel spreadsheet. It actually will give you your district. And if you go into your district, you can see how your club is doing. So the trends in North America in membership have been declining for about 20 years. So it's not a recent phenomenon, but that might be kind of interesting to you, because if you look at your own club, a lot of what we do is we're looking at a one-year snapshot and not getting a longer term picture of what's happening. So that's what's happening in North America. That's Rotary membership is declining in North America. And we're really focused on how can we make a difference with that? Because we see such value for in what we are in Rotary. Just like you're talking about what is Rotary. Well, for some reason, we're not appealing to people or retaining the people who join our clubs. And so that was part of why I think one of the most important things you can do as club president is to engage your members. Because if your club is providing value and relevance to your members will not only stay in your club, but they'll reach out to other people they know and talk to them about the value that they're getting from being part of your club. Like I said, if we engage our members, everything else good will follow. So that's one of the ways that we can be working with the membership trends to reverse those membership trends. One of the other ways we're working is on starting new clubs. And this requires us all to have an attitude of abundance, because starting a new club is never intended to be difficult for you and your current club or take people away from your club. The fact is, if people aren't happy in your club and they want to go to a new club, we keep our family, right? We grow our family. And Dick Jones from your district is part of what's called the New Club Task Force. And so we're looking at ways that we can start clubs that are different than our current clubs that will attract people who would be good Rotarians, people who believe in our core values. How can we attract those people who are not considering being a Rotarian at this point? And so that's part of what Dick Jones does, is talk with districts and find opportunities to start new clubs that will appeal to different people, expanding our reach and growing our family. One of the things that we're seeing in North America right now is a desire for cause-based clubs. So something like maybe it's against human trafficking. There was a new club started for tutoring, which I thought was pretty interesting. There's veteran support clubs that have started, also all different things like that. Again, the best ideas come from Rotarians. The best ideas come from people who want to be involved in Rotary and start these new clubs. So we're working to help them start these new clubs in cooperation with supporting you in making sure that your members are satisfied and that we grow our family in all different ways.
Just as a quick follow-up, are you
I have a
noticing
question.
anything unique or interesting about the Western region in particular?
Well, you know, the Western region, I'm trying to think about how to say this in a humble manner, but we tend to be pioneers. We tend to be kind of independently minded. And we come up with ideas that a lot of times the rest of the Rotary world adopts. And we're, you know, in the next year, we're looking at a couple of different things to pilot, if you will, to test, to see if we can do things a little differently than what the rest of the Rotary world is doing, to see how well it works. You know, that's part of that innovating, right? That part of that being willing to adapt and to innovate is to try new things and see what we learn through that process and not be too concerned if it isn't fully successful, but that we learn and we provide more value to our members moving forward. So one of those things would be a mentoring platform, a way for us to create matches of people who want mentoring opportunities, people who have knowledge and skills that want to share, and people who are looking for some of that information. So I'm working directly with Rotary International on a platform where we might match Rotarians and Rotaractors who want to get together either once or for a longer term relationship to help mentor people in profession and personal lives. So that's one of those examples. But yes, the West Coast is known, not the West Coast, our Western region, the Big West, is known for being willing to try new ideas and to certainly be innovative and adaptive.
Great, thank you. John, did you have a question?
Yes, I was typing it. What about members coming from independent contractors like Uber drivers or waiters or people from different, you know, we don't normally think of them as
potential members?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Do you have any thoughts about that?
Well, what are you thinking, John? Because I don't see a problem. If they're the right kind, if they're a person who shares our core values and they want to be part of something bigger than themselves and make a difference, make connections with other like-minded people, I think that's the definition of a Rotarian.
Yeah.
And I don't necessarily think any particular vocation or occupation is off the table. It's how would they like to participate? You know, one of the opportunities is there's so many people working from home, working online, and they miss personal connections. So maybe we have an opportunity to include those type of people that don't have that personal connection as part of their work life, and they really are hungry for that connection. So I think you've got a great idea, John.
Thank you. Do you have any thoughts about, you know, I've thought about continuing the Zoom during, from July 1st on during my presidency, but us members communing around service projects, fund committee projects, you know, social projects, but really us getting together with around projects instead of for, you know, a buffet lunch at noon. Right.
So what you're pointing out is certainly you're thinking about your flexibility, and you have the ability to do that. You have the ability. Now you need your members' support. You need them to buy in that this is how they want to get together. But boy, have we learned a lot about how we can bring together people on Zoom and be intentional in when we want that time where we're together physically, right? That's what you're talking about. So absolutely, this is within your ability to talk with your members and find out, you know, maybe some of them want to meet in Zoom, some of them want to meet on person. What if you could do your club meetings on Zoom? You don't have the cost of a meal necessarily. It's maybe easier for your members to attend. And as you said, you either have socials, you have service projects, you have other ways that the club members can connect in person.
Right.
This is within your ability as a club president, John.
Thank you.
Thanks for bringing that up.
We have other questions for Director V.
We commented about individuals working from home, and I can definitely speak to that because I've been working from home for 3 years, so way before it was cool. I was doing it.
Hey, you're a pioneer too.
I guess kind of, and I moved here with my partner to be closer to his mom, and I didn't know anybody, and so Rotary has been huge for me in terms of meeting people. So I'm just struggling because I was a Rotarian before I came here, so I already knew. I'm struggling with how we reach those people from home, but I think there's working from home, but I think there's definitely a need and an opportunity there for sure.
Yeah. Do you have any ideas on how to do that?
That's what I was just thinking about, because I think if I hadn't known about Rotary before, I don't think I'd have met anybody. I'd be a hermit in my house, I'm pretty sure. So I'm trying to think, yeah, I'm going to give that some thought because I don't have any ideas right now, but I think there is an opportunity for sure.
And we need to get Arturo on the job too, right? Because I'm sure he's going to have some ideas on how we can create more awareness in our own community about what Rotary is.
Yeah.
So the Rotary brand is pretty well known on an international level. But what's interesting, even people who know what the name Rotary is or think they know what the name Rotary is, don't realize that there's a club in your community. So we need to do a better job, however we can get that word out of what you're doing in your community and the fact that you exist in your community. So you've hit on a hot button there, because if we can get more awareness out, I think there's a hunger for people to make the connections that Rotary helps to provide. And I think people also do want to be part of something bigger than themselves and leverage what they can do to make lasting change, to create lasting change.
Agreed.
There's your elevator speech for the grocery store, Jen.
Yeah. I mean, I was thinking that, like, the elevator speeches are good. But it's funny when I talk to people, how many people don't know or they think we're something different than we are.
Right.
Yeah. So I am trying to get out there with my elevator speech as well.
Good job. Keep it going.
It all comes down to the ask. And this past Wednesday, we had a former exchange student from Germany who's a young professional in Germany. And I asked her, well, are you in Rotary now? She said, no. So then while we were online, she was looking for, there were several clubs there in Cologne where she is. So hopefully she'll reach out to them. But our big problem is that people don't ask.
And sometimes we need to ask what they're interested in.
Right.
Yes, I totally agree with you.
Hey, Director Vicky, it sounds like you could use a balloon, a Rotary balloon at the Albuquerque Balloon Fiesta.
Yeah, sounds like a great idea. Are you going to take care of that, George?
Yeah.
I like that idea.
So there's a chat exchange going on. Barry, I don't know if you can unmute and ask your question. If not, I will read it out.
Yeah, I certainly can unmute and ask my question.
Yes, Michael, may I help you?
Oh,
I've been in Rotary for about 6 or 7 years. I joined because I really enjoyed, my wife was in Rotary, and I really enjoyed our Rotary friendship exchanges and what the people I met. And I've just become president-elect.
Congratulations.
If Rotary is a service organization, what is the real purpose of the meetings? In my club, the meetings are meet, greet, eat, and listen to a presentation. But I have found the meeting somewhat lacking in that way, and I want to make a change. And I don't know exactly where I want to go with it, which is why I asked the question, what is the purpose of if Rotary is a service organization, what is the purpose of the meetings? What should the meetings accomplish?
So Barry, I'm going to take a step back and say that I don't personally believe that Rotary is a service organization. I think we're a leadership organization. And I think we are leaders who do service. And so maybe there's a little perspective difference there for you. I'm not going to argue with you if you think Rotary is a service organization, because there's a lot of value there as well. But I might ask you to think a little more broadly. So when I think about the benefits that people get from Rotary, and surveys and data will support this over the last, 10 or 15 years, is people join and stay in Rotary for two main reasons. The first are friends and contacts, and the second is service, primarily local service, at least at the beginning, or especially at the beginning. And so I think part of the purpose of the meetings is to create that opportunity for leaders to come together, to exchange ideas, and then to be able to decide how to take action in their community to make their communities better. Without that connection, the opportunity for friendships to develop, relationships to develop, I think that's a big part of what our meetings are about. You might ask your members, Barry, before you go too much further, about what they think and what is the value they want to get from a meeting. Maybe you could do a meeting like John was saying and do it online. Keep the cost, keep the time commitment, keep that investment of energy to a smaller amount, and use that time and energy of your members to do other things like service projects, if that's what's valuable to your members. The beautiful thing
that I'm planning to do is to develop a strategic plan for the club.
Perfect.
Establish goals and to get input from the members themselves as to what they want to pursue in terms of service projects, rather than impose upon them my own ideas. I don't think that's what I'm supposed to be doing.
It tends not to be successful, Barry. It tends to be much more successful if you bring your members into it. And I love the fact that you just talked about a multi-year plan for your club, a vision, a strategic plan, a multi-year plan, an action plan, whatever you want to call it. But it's getting your members to decide what do they want to do over a multiple year period of time. And as the club president, you get the privilege to be the leader for that 1 year. You're a leader of peers. And your club moves forward, is more successful if it has a multi-year plan rather than a stop-start every year. Absolutely.
So we have about 15 minutes left. And I think Vicky also has some questions for us. So let's take a couple more questions and then we'll switch. Dean, go ahead.
Yeah, you were talking about bringing the members in. Do you have any tips on how to do that? Because, you know, we've sent emails and we've talked to people individually. You know, we've called everybody in the club and, you know, at least half of them have returned our calls, you know, but they aren't responding. So how do we get them to respond?
Wow, that's a tough one, Dean. They're not responding to phone calls when you call them?
Well, about half of them didn't return the phone calls when we left messages.
All right. So, you know, when I think about Rotary, I think about the fact that these are our friends.
Right.
And so I think you reach out to them in a personal way. A phone call sounds like a great idea. I don't know if there are maybe the rest of you have some ideas for Dean, because that sounds like a bit of a challenge. But we need to engage our members. We need to know what they want to do and how they want to do it, and then help them get there. And, you know, this is what is different about Rotary than many other organizations. I would say service clubs, although I'm not going to agree with Barry that we're a service club just yet. Sorry, Barry. What you see in Rotary is the fact that your members get to determine what the club does, as far as service, as far as connections, as far as socials, as far as everything. Nobody from Rotary is telling you exactly how you have to do this. Rotary provides us a framework that's really flexible, that allows us to do what our members want to do. They get to decide what is most important in their community. They get to decide how they want to interact even in an international way, as opposed to other organizations that have a corporate mission and they're looking for people to help deliver that mission. Rotary sees every one of our members as a leader, as somebody who has the best ideas of what makes a difference in that community and in our broader community. And so I just think that's such a difference, such a unique thing about our organization to empower the members to decide what is important. And so Dean, I don't know if your classmates here have some suggestions for you. It sounds to me like you're doing the right things. I'd keep at it, and maybe get some other people in your club to help you reach out. Maybe some of the board members or some of your other club leaders who have a personal relationship with some of the members, have them reach out personally. We got to get them back in engaged, or they won't stay part of our club and they won't get the benefit of the connections that are so important.
Great,
Eric,
thank you.
Eric, do you want to unmute and share the idea you put in the chat?
Oh, good. We have an idea.
So I just sent out a survey in 3 different formats. I did it as a Google form, in-person form, and over the phone. And I brainstormed and spitballed and put about 30 to 35 service projects, volunteer opportunities, and fun activities out to the club, and just said, hey, let me know what you think. Tell me how interested you'd be in these. And surprisingly, I got about 85% of my club to respond, which is great. And I got a lot of ideas as well. At the end of the survey, I said, hey, what else do you want to do? So we've got activities now planned for every month, and we've got 4 service projects we're going to do. And we've got every 2 months or so a fun social activity. And the survey really seemed to work, and people responded well to it.
Great. How big is your club, Eric?
54 right now.
Okay.
We just had a member pass away, so I had to think, but 54.
Good. So in your case, you found a survey to be more beneficial.
Yeah. Our members seem to be more business oriented.
Mm-hmm.
So they tend to respond better to things like that
Mm-hmm.
than like an open forum at a meeting or things like that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Good. So good job staying in touch with your members and doing it the way they want to do it. That's awesome.
Kathy, you've got your hand raised. Why don't you go ahead and ask your question?
Yeah, we did that as well and got very few answers back to our survey. And so it is a on in Taos.
So remember how I said every club is unique and special, and that's why you guys get the big bucks, because you get to figure out how is it that you're going to get to know your members. And I'll tell you, as club president, you get to know your members differently than you ever think was possible by participating in whatever those committees are, by discussing with them what they want to do. So keep at it, Kathy. It's worth the effort.
How many club projects, should a club have? I mean, one a month or one every 3 months? Is there any recommendations in that regard?
If you're asking me, I would go back to your members again. A lot of members like to have projects at least once a month, but it depends on your members and what kind of projects they want and how they want to participate. So again, I would go back to that. You could put out some suggestions and have them pick. It's surprising sometimes in a club that sometimes the members don't even know the projects the club is involved with. And so maybe it's an assessment of what are we currently doing? What do you want to keep? It's almost like a start, stop, continue. Which things should we stop doing? Which things should we keep doing? And what should we start that's different? And have them weigh in on that to give you some information.
Thank you.
So we have about 10 minutes left, and I believe, Vicki, you had some questions for us. So why don't we go ahead?
Jeff, I'm getting a lot of great information from the questions. My questions were I had 2 questions. One was, what are the challenges that you're facing? Because I think it's good for us. It's good for Bob. It's good for Sunny. It's good for John. It's good for you, Jeff, to hear what are the challenges the clubs are having so that we can think best about how to support them and what kind of resources are helpful. But the second thing is, I always want to end with being relentlessly positive, right? So I want to hear, what are you most excited about for the coming year? So those are my 2 questions.
So again, if you can unmute and respond. If you can't, feel free to put your notions in the chat. Bob, you raised your hand. Go ahead, please.
Oh, no, that wasn't me.
Yeah.
Bob Bernard.
Bob
He's got a nice kitty there with him.
Yeah, that's my other half now. Two issues that I see. One is how we're going to get people over the COVID resistance to meet back in person.
Mhm.
Because we have a lot of older people
Mhm.
who have taken a year off, if you will, just because of COVID. They don't know how to be engaged and they don't like Zoom. So that's one issue. I think the positive issue is that we still are getting 25 or so members at our Zoom meetings each week. So we've got a good core, and we just have to figure out how to bring the other people back in.
Yeah, how to re-engage them.
Exactly.
Yeah. Anybody have ideas for Bob?
So I'm Bob's president-elect behind him.
Yes.
So PEE, I think.
Oh,
And
great.
so I think
You're way in advance here.
Yeah.
Good for you.
Bob told me to come, so I'm here.
I love it.
So I think Bob and I have talked a lot about too is how do you take the political nature of that conversation out of that conversation? So I think that's something that we're struggling with too, is we have some members that are steadfast and we want to meet in person. And we have some members that are steadfast, I want to meet on Zoom, and trying to balance that. And it seems like it's become more of a political conversation than it is like a membership and engagement conversation. And so I'd love some ideas how to have that conversation. And maybe that's just the way of the world right now.
Boy, anybody got some good ideas for that?
To me, it seems like, I mean, almost everyone over 65 is either getting vaccinated right now or they've already been vaccinated. So I think the problem is solving itself by the time us PEs are presidents. I think all the older folks are like me are going to be vaccinated. So I think the problem is solving itself.
It's a really personal decision, isn't it?
I think it has to do with giving people the optimum choice of how they want to participate in Rotary. And I think we've learned some people really like this Zoom.
Mm-hmm.
For instance, I have COPD.
Mm-hmm.
And, live meetings, I'm a little hesitant.
Mm-hmm.
And the other thing about live meetings is, if we have 60 people, for instance, I mean, we all sit at the same tables every week.
Oh.
So this breaks up the cliques. Yeah.
And so I've really enjoyed the Zoom aspects of that side of getting to know people.
And by the way, we, on occasion, we will use breakout rooms as timeout rooms. We've not had to do that yet today. So
2 minutes in the penalty box.
yeah, we have a few more questions or responses. So I'm just going to call on who I'm seeing has raised their hands. Bill from Gallup, go ahead, please.
Hey, thank you, Jeff. Vicky, thanks for being here with
Hi,
us
Bill.
today. And we see our challenge right now too. We have a fairly strong membership, but we've had very little participation in our Zoom meetings. And like many have said here, we're concerned about engagement. Now that we're able to meet back together, we finally made the turquoise level. So we're going to be focused on how to really get people back to Rotary. And I think one of the big focuses that we see with our business leadership, which is such a big part of our club, is, and even some of the nonprofit organizations that are members, is that their focus right now is on getting their businesses back up and running, and not necessarily on attending functions like Rotary. And so what we're trying to do, and what I'm thinking about, is how do I line up speakers that will be meaningful to restart business.
Right.
Really focusing on business ideas so that when they come to a meeting, they're also getting that valuable input on how to possibly get their businesses back up and running to an even better capacity. So it's kind of one of the things that we're thinking about. Engagement to me is a pretty powerful word. I think when it comes down to it, engagement in my mind is when somebody makes an emotional commitment and is willing to give then some discretionary effort to your leadership. So I think that's what we're really trying to focus on.
So Bill, remember that we have an avenue of service called vocational service. And so you might think, and your group, your classmates here may have some ideas on how you can provide a way for people to share their business information with each other. Maybe you already do this, but how can we support each other in surviving the economic impact of the pandemic? And how do we come together, support each other's businesses and grow that? So I think there's some ideas there. Rotary means business, or a directory of some sort to help them make sure they're connecting with other Rotarians and supporting each other in their business endeavors as well.
That's a great idea. Thank you.
We've got about 5 minutes left. Next, we have Clarence from Del Norte.
Hey, Vicki.
Hi, Clarence.
So I don't know. Unfortunately, as many of my club members will attest, I can't ask a simple question. So I'm sorry.
Oh, sorry. We're out of time, Clarence. Just kidding.
So, really, we are in the middle of a crisis. And, when the Greeks came up with that word, it was a two-headed god. One half was opportunity. The other half was danger, right? And I think our clubs are kind of at a crossroads right now, because this gives us a really big reset to really redefine who Rotary is, what we do, how we remain relevant, and how we make an impact on lives. And looking at this from somewhat of a broader perspective, we're limited here in our state because we have somewhat draconian quarantine rules, and it might seem arbitrary to some people. And then, as Mr. Bishop had talked about, he actually liked the Zoom meetings. So I think that the impact of this COVID crisis is kind of going to resonate for years. And as a club president, what I'm trying to grapple with is, how do we incorporate this new element of, maybe the hybrid meetings, so that the people that are on remotely can feel like they're true participants in the meeting and not just bystanders? How do we use this element where some of us are comfortable meeting in person, other people aren't so much, and how do we foster the type of unity within the club where people aren't seeing each other maybe face to face any longer? And I guess where I'm trying to get is, how do we plan for a year where the circumstances are well beyond our control to actually prepare for it? But other than that, it's a
Is that all one question, Clarence? Yeah.
Right. Aside from that, Miss Lincoln, the plate was great.
So you brought up a number of things, and I certainly don't have all the answers. There are resources on how to conduct hybrid meetings for the very best results, because you're absolutely right. The people in person need to have a good experience, and the people online need to also have a good experience, and the two need to be connected for a truly successful hybrid meeting. So there are some resources. I think that Sunny and Bob and John probably have some resources for you at the district level. We also have some at the zone level, some ideas of how to do that, and some people who can help you with that. If that's part of the solution, is to be able to figure out how to do a hybrid meeting to accommodate those who don't want to yet meet in person and those who do want to meet in person. There's some other ideas I've heard, and that would be that you have some events that are totally virtual. You have some events that are in person. And so you're giving those audiences the full attention of that experience as well as your hybrid. And there's certainly lots of ways that we can use Zoom or online meetings to complement what we're doing, such as, I mean, I'm going back thinking about the board meetings that I used to have in my club. Those could have been done on Zoom, and they might even be more efficient because we can all look at the same financials at the same time, the same membership list at the same time, and nobody had to leave their office or their home or wherever it was and drive and be at a board meeting. So there's some complementary things that we can do. We're learning that a lot of our educational events can be done very well on Zoom and or online, and then complemented with an in-person experience. So this is part of the path, Clarence. This is part of the journey, and you're right. It's an opportunity and it's a crisis at the same time. But we're learning through this process how to do it better. I would just say stay in touch with your members and make sure that they are being heard, that you're listening to them, that they're being heard and that their needs are being addressed. Maybe it's a chance where we have to get to some point where we have satellites, where some people want to meet online and some people want to meet in person. I'm hoping we can bring those diverse perspectives together in a way that we can all stay connected. But you know, for a while, every club in the world has been an e-club. And there were e-clubs before the pandemic, and they figured out some things that they really liked from that model. So let's just be open to the opportunities, and maybe somebody else has a better answer for you as well, Clarence. Thank you for the really complicated question.
Hey, appreciate you.
Let's wrap it up with our district membership chair, Jim Hatcher. Jim, go ahead.
Oh yeah, Jim.
Thank you. Thank you. Just a couple of things to throw out there. We've talked about this before in the district, before you guys' tenure as incoming presidents. It's a difficult question. Everybody has a different answer to it. For instance, in my club, I'm about the only one that Zooms in anymore. Texas has a different feeling about this bug than anybody else does, except for me, obviously. And I just think that there are many different answers for this. One of the answers I don't think we've covered yet is that for your members that can't Zoom or don't want to Zoom, and they can't come into the club meetings, there's this thing that we used to do all the time called a conference call. And we can do conference calls with the members that refuse to do it any other way, and keep them up to date. Vicki also just talked about Zoom, about making a satellite club. You don't have to make an official satellite club. This can be a temporary satellite club, and just have people in your club. It's going to be a lot of extra work for you, Clarence, and the rest of you presidents, because you're going to have to hold maybe 2 or 3 different meetings just to make sure all your members are included in this. It's a temporary thing. I have a feeling we're about to nip this in the bud. If we can get the inoculations in before the mutations take over, then I think we can probably beat this. But if we can't, then we have another year or so before we can do anything. Just think of it, the flu's gone. Nobody gets the flu anymore. Why? Well, because we're isolated and we wear masks and we be careful with each other. And so the flu is basically gone. I have a feeling COVID will do the same thing eventually. And it'll be with us basically for the rest of our lives. So we're going to have to take care of it and get our inoculations and do those kinds of things. And we're going to have to deal with members that aren't willing to be in a group of people that may or may not be vectors. So those are just a few of my thoughts in this. It's a difficult question. I am amazed that you guys want to be presidents right now. I think it's awesome. It shows a lot of initiative, and just get out there and do the best you can for your members.
These are rock stars, Jim. These are rock star presidents. Woohoo! So Jim, just so you know, you probably already know, there's a zone level meeting on, I think it's the 27th, where people from all 30 districts will be sharing ideas on how to do the best job with hybrid meetings. Yeah. So you and your governor line are invited to that. So that might be a good time to get some other ideas. And I sure hope you're right about this thing being done pretty soon.
Keith, you have a very quick comment, and then we're going to close this session.
Yes, thank you. Just to comment on Jim, just to talk about the that conference call. If you look on the Zoom meetings, there's a point where you go down on that Zoom link. It says dial by your location. So we actually, from the Texas standpoint, we have people that are very comfortable meeting face to face. There's other folks who are okay with Zoom, and there's also folks who are very challenged when it comes to the Zoom link. So the workaround there is dialing by your location. And in fact, you even have a Texas phone number if you choose to use that one. So just to comment on that.
Thanks, Keith.
Thank you.
Well, let's give Vicki a huge round of Zoom applause.
Oh, thank you. What a pleasure to be with you today. And this was way more fun than a speech, don't you think? Having this ability to have a conversation. So I appreciate each one of you. Thank you so much. You are the rock star presidents-elect. So you're going to be rock star presidents. Thank you for serving and have a fabulous year ahead.
Thanks, Vicki.
Thanks, Vicki. Thanks, Bob. Thanks, Sunny.
All right, folks, we have one session to come and then we'll take our first morning break. But again, if you need to get up and stretch, please feel free to do so. We're going to spend the next 45 minutes, let's see, about an hour or so talking about our various youth programs. And I believe Tony is with us, and Dick and Michelle and Shane. So who is going to start?
I'll go ahead, Jeff. Thanks.
Okay.
Yeah. Hey, that was awesome. If you're still on, I
yes.
Switched to my good. Thank you so much for being with us. And I just finished. I'm finishing being a lieutenant governor that I have been since 2011-12, except for 1 year. And so I really appreciate all the presidents-elect showing up today. And I know you're giving up something to do this, and this is a sign of Rotary above self. I'm really excited to be able to present youth programs this morning. One of the reasons I took youth program leadership role is that I knew that I had done as much as I felt like I could in that role, and I had a great experience with youth programs. I was a GSE team leader back when we had group study exchanges. I got to go to Australia. I've hosted an exchange student. I've been the Ryla Camp Boys leader. And so youth has been close to my heart. Our club, one of the reasons that I stayed in my club was its focus on youth programs and its dedication. We've raised over $2 million for youth with a big event that we put on every year that's coming up on April 24th. We've given away $1 million, and we've put $1 million into our foundation. So now that we can fund youth programs and youth charities for a long time. So I want to introduce Dick Jones. Part of youth programs is compliance and youth protection and crisis management. We're lumped it all into one. He's so good at all that. He's dedicated himself to learning all about this, studying everything, working with people to put together a plan, and he does an awesome job. So Dick, do you want to take it away?
Sure. Thank you, Tony. We're going to talk first this morning about youth protection. And if I can get my screen up here, we will get that going. Youth protection is one of the topics that we need to talk about the most, but enjoy talking about the least. Years ago, when many of us joined Rotary, it was a topic we didn't even take into consideration because we're Rotarians, and that doesn't happen to Rotarians. Well, we're in a different time, and so the district has to be aware of where we are. And so we have the Youth Protection Committee, and basically this covers any young person or adult up to the age of 18 that our Rotary Club is involved in. And so our responsibility is protecting the youth of District 5520. And to do this, we have done several things. We have incorporated the RI youth protection policies, and it's a very extensive policy manual and is updated through the Board of Directors Code of Policies on a regular basis, but they have been incorporated into our district youth protection policies. We have defined the role of the district leaders. I am going to review those briefly for you this morning, but the majority of my time is going to be spent on talking about your role as club president. We have outlined what you need to know about youth protection and how you share it with your club. And then we want to make sure that all these documents are readily available to you. Therefore, they have been posted on the home page of the district website. They are available to every Rotarian in the district. Matter of fact, they're available to anyone in the world that wants to go to Rotary5520.org and click that youth protection or youth protection button on the ribbon bar there. So in a time of panic, you, your club members, parents of the individuals involved can see exactly what we are using as our guidance documents. In 2002, the Board of Directors passed a statement for working with youth. And it basically says that in District 5520, we will strive to create and maintain a safe environment for all youth who participate in Rotary activities. That includes Rotarians, Rotarian spouses, partners, volunteers, anyone that we invite to be in the program will abide by these rules and policies. And we're safeguarding each and every child that comes to work in one of our programs. And this can be a variety of endeavors that they become involved in. It can be working on a club project, handing out food at the local food bank, to something as involved and complicated as Rotary Youth Exchange. But it is our job to protect the youth, and we are working very, very closely to do that. The district governor is the responsible party. The district governor has given control of that over to the Youth Protection Committee, of which I am chair. We have established the policies, which the governor has signed off on. We work with the district program heads, and if necessary, the district governor will intervene to the extent that the district governor can shut down a Rotary club if the feeling is that they are not doing enough to protect the students and to correct the situation. As youth protection officer, I am also subject to a number of rules and regulations. Here are just a few of them. I take the same training that I ask everyone else to take. I am responsible for maintaining the records. We'll talk a little bit more about our records in a minute, but those are my responsibilities. And we also have assistant governors and lieutenant governors trained to help you. Earlier this year, we have been working with our assistant governors so that they can serve as a resource to you. They know the policies. They can help in training. They will coordinate with me, and together we will keep the governor completed. They have completed their volunteer application, their privacy agreement, and their youth protection awareness training. And as we get into that, I can explain all of that to you. But as club presidents, this is where I want to spend the majority of my time this morning. And I want to make sure that all club presidents understand that it is their responsibility to know both Rotary and district policies regarding youth. That they are responsible for making sure that every club member and everyone involved in a program that involves youth and what those responsibilities are. That if they are dealing in a specific program, such as Interact or Youth Exchange or RILA, they know that those program chairs are where they go for program specific information. And if it's regarding youth protection policies, they would come to me. They need to understand, and the entire club needs to understand, that the information that we collect if a situation arises is private information. This is information that we do not share at club meetings. We certainly do not share at board meetings, and only the parties that are involved, and I mean directly involved, should know. But we also need to make sure that the student understands that as we do everything we can to keep their information private, it might not necessarily be confidential. And the reason for that is that if you take the initial report, you have to share it with me, or you have to share it with Michelle in Youth Exchange. We have to share it with the district governor. It has to be shared with Rotary International. And then it also has to be shared with local authorities. We also want you to understand transportation policies. These are policies regarding moving students about the district or around your community. And we have a section on transportation policies that require the person running a program in your club be aware of and collect certain information. To be certified to participate in a youth program in District 5520, all our volunteers have to complete and comply with our rules. One application covers all programs. So if you have a volunteer that is working with Youth Exchange, they can certainly work with RILA or Interact as part of this problem. And you need to confirm that each one of the individuals working with a student, and this is when they're working with them alone, if there's a group, if you're serving a community dinner and you have 15 kids and 30 Rotarians and they're all together, that does not necessarily require everyone have a background check. But if you have one Rotarian that is driving a student back and forth 4 or 5 times a week, then that would. It's a very short requirement. It takes very little time to get it complete. Once it's complete, you sign the privacy agreement, which basically just emphasizes what I mentioned earlier, that information is private, not confidential, and that it is not a topic for the board or the club to discuss. And then we have the volunteer take an online course from either NIAN, which is one of our youth protection partners, our youth exchange partners, or from the Rotary Learning Center. And as we go through the program, from time to time, we will be using different training material. But for you as president, the number one question that you need to ask in any situation that involves a young adult or a student is the student safe? The student's safety is your number one concern. You make sure that that person is safe and protected before you do anything. And then you call the district. To make these accessible to you on a timely and immediate basis, they are all posted on the district website, and you can see a screenshot of the website right here. It lists the programs that we, or the documents that we have. It's an overview, it's our contact information, it's the district's policy, those transportation policies that I mentioned, abuse and harassment, allegation and definitions and reporting guidelines for them. And before I move on to the next slide, I want you to note that on the graphic on the right, we list them by document number so you know exactly what you're dealing with. And then in the far right column, we list the latest update so that you can tell and make sure that you're using the latest versions of these documents, because they do get updated. If an incident happens, you are required to start a report. The copy of that report is there. We have the applications available if anyone in your club is working with a youth that they should be doing. We have been encouraged during the last year that assistant, lieutenant governors, and program chairs take the same training so that they will know what we're talking about and be able to help you. And then we have our privacy agreement, and the final document there is the Youth Protection Guide published by Rotary International, and it gives you, it is our source document for everything that we create. So you can go right back to the source to get those, your information. Resources available to you are the district website. Rotary has an increasingly beneficial learning center, and then we are a part of a youth exchange organization called the North American Youth Exchange Network, and they provide a lot of our training too. So those are all resources available. And Jeff, how am I doing on time? And do I have time for a couple of questions here?
I think you're doing fine. The whole session goes till 11:15. So
I think we're good on time.
Okay.
Yeah,
so
Barry Fisher has a question. What age does Rotary use to define youth for application of these policies?
We use it up to 18.
Okay. Anybody else?
Dick, thank you. Sounds
Okay.
like no more questions, and that means you covered everything very thoroughly, and there's no doubt what to do.
And please reach out to me if you do have a question.
Right. And when in doubt, call Dick. That's the thing. If you have an incident you're not sure about, or if you want to know what you should be aware of and be preventative about, first thing is go to the website. Like Dick said, teach your youth services coordinator in your club to use the website. Go to youth programs and then go to Rotary International for all the tools that they're going to use. I think that's a big part of being a president, is teaching and working with your committee chairs to find the resources that they'll need to be successful in their areas. And
I will answer my phone 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. There is never a youth crisis that I won't be happy to wake up and help with.
Exactly. Michelle is the other resource for that. They work on this together. So
all of our team on that document that's on the website contains contact information for all of our team. And so you can reach out to any of us at any time. And we do have media representatives who are directed to speak to the media, and I'll talk about that a little bit later. And we do have contract psychologists available if we need to bring in outside counselors.
Tony, quick question. Are we also going to go over crisis management as part of this?
We are. We were going to take a little break and not hit them with all the heavy stuff at one point. So
okay,
if we could maybe push that to the back. But I do have, Sarah was not able to be with us this morning, but I do have a short video that she recorded on the four-way test essay. If I may, I'll go ahead and share my screen again and run that video.
Okay.
If I can find that video. Now we'll do it this way. That's what happens when you have more than one document on your screen. Here we go.
Hi, I'm Sarah Jones, District Chair of the four-way test essay contest. Here with an update. This year, the district received 2
if we're not seeing the video.
Oh, okay.
I had to disqualify. Fortunately, the one essay that did qualify was.
Give me just a second.
While Dick's getting that ready, I can just tell you is the first time that I heard about the four-way test contest was about 2005, shortly after I joined Rotary. And I went to district conference, and I found that a cousin won the four-way test contest. And I went and watched him present and thought it was what a great program that I hadn't heard about through my club yet. That was a year that we didn't have a lot of focus on the four-way test. So it's one of the areas that we want you to really move to the top. It's only a one-time a year event, and it's a way to introduce youth to Rotary at a very young age and get them exposed to the possibilities of Rotary down the road. How's it coming, Dick? All right.
Let me try it again. Are you seeing her name on the screen?
Yeah, but you need to open that file, I think.
Okay, you should be seeing it now.
Hi, I'm Sarah Jones, District Chair of the four-way test.
You're not. Okay. Let's go ahead and go to the other.
This year, the district received 2 essays.
So Dick, you may want to unshare your screen of what you already have and close it, and then bring up her video and share your screen again.
And a fun example of how the four-way
You'll see which screen to share when you close, now that you're closed.
Okay. Well, I'm not seeing it, so go on and we'll come back to that in a minute. And if you want, I'll go ahead and do the crisis, or you can come back to that.
We can come back to that, I think,
Okay.
a little bit and let you figure that part out that you're working on right there. Yeah. So, Dan Garrison is involved with the Las Lunas Club, of course, District Governor Dan Garrison, and they have a great Interact Club. And I thought Dan could tell you a little bit about their Interact Club, how it works, and what Interact is all about, and why your clubs should consider it. Dan?
Thank you. Interact is a service club for ages 12 to 18. So it can cover from middle school through high school. And by the way, if a senior turns 18, they don't get kicked out of the club. They get to finish their year. If you want to revitalize a club, get involved with these teenagers. This generation wants to make a difference. They want to make a positive difference in their world. And I keep telling people, if you want to talk, if you think things are bad, talk to these kids and don't ask them about their favorite teacher or what they hate in the cafeteria. Ask them about their world and what their dreams and hopes are. And I guarantee you, in most cases, they will blow you away with their awareness and their commitment. Our Interact Club with us on Zoom, our Interact Club hasn't stopped. These kids are cleaning streets for the village. They're cleaning parks. They're doing morale boosting activities for the staff at the school. They're doing, today, I'm missing a project. They're at one of the assisted living centers with cards to be presented to the people in the center. And they also are doing a drumline presentation for the people in that center. Their enthusiasm will wake up any club. Interact is built on the same principles of Rotary, of our integrity and honesty and commitment to make a difference in our world. And I would heartily endorse anyone getting started with an Interact in their community. The keys are to get the support of the superintendent of schools or board, whichever, and the high school principal, and find a school-based sponsor that can do the day-to-day where the Rotarians are coming in and out. They need a sponsor that's there for them every day. But these, I'll answer questions you may have about Interact, but I will tell you, it will greatly enhance your own club.
As will all the youth programs, get your club involved with youth programs. So one thing that we realized is that a lot of these clubs are started by RILA campers. They get back very enthusiastic and go back to their school and they want to start an Interact club. And one of the keys though is that those kids are incoming seniors, and if you're building an Interact club, you want to have those kids recruit as many freshmen as they can into their club, so the club has a carry-on for many years. So not only involved what happens, I think sometimes, is they want to get their friends in their senior class and involved so that it's a social thing, but they graduate and then you don't have a foundation. So that's one of the things we've experienced. Anybody have any?
They have a hard time with the follow through because they come in enthusiasm in August and then they get involved in all their senior things and all the requirements of the senior year. And it becomes very difficult for them. And our structure of our RILA, with it being juniors, does not, help that because of the age out. But Tony's right. If you can start with the freshmen, you build a cadre that just keeps coming every year.
Yeah, Keith wants to know, where do you find out if a school has an Interact club already? And we do have a list of Interact clubs that are started, and just check with me and I can let you know if a high school or something like that has one that we know of.
I appreciate that, Tony. Thank you.
Great. So we'll go ahead and move on so that we can stay on time here. Want to introduce Michelle Perchette, who everybody knows has done an awesome job with Youth Exchange. It's just a phenomenal program. I attended a conference on Youth Exchange earlier in the spring, before spring, and found out that, man, are we on top of it as a district. We're a leader in Youth Exchange, and that's because Michelle and the team she's put together. And I had an exchange student myself, my wife and I did, in 2010, and we've been to visit him, and he's come here to visit twice. You can build lifelong relationships through Youth Exchange, and it's so much fun to get involved with all the kids who are visiting and those that are outgoing, and we encourage all the presidents to really encourage Youth Exchange. So Michelle, would you tell us all about Youth Exchange and what's going on now?
Great. Yeah, thank you very much. Good morning. So, boy, have we had a lot of pandemic effect for our program. At the time the pandemic kicked in a year ago, we had, 21 or 22 youngsters in the program actually on exchange. I also want to recognize that involved in this phone call is also, Dick Jones has been a big part of our program, our governor, Sonny, who was our trooper until she decided to become a governor, and Bianca's here, and we just have lots and lots. Oh, John Morrison, we just have so many wonderful Rotarians around the district that help us. And at the moment that pandemic kicked in, our district committee was talking, gosh, weekly or bi-weekly. I was in touch with all of them, and they were all, there's about 4 of us that are the country contacts. We were having regular communication with the other countries. We did decide to bring, a lot of the children decided to come home or go home from here. There was a couple abroad and a couple here that stayed and were able to actually finish their exchange through the month of July, which was pretty remarkable. So where are we today? 2 weeks ago now, or a week and a half ago, Rotary International has suspended the program through June of 2022. Now, does that mean we're done? We are not done. Our committee would really like to send the 13 children we have currently on our list outbound, but in the course of the last couple of weeks, I've talked to them individually, and they all understand that they're not going to be able to exchange right now. They are going to be participating, though, for you in a talent show, and they're posting their videos now to Marshall Poole so that you will have a talent show on Saturday the 10th, and we're looking forward to that. They're also going to be Marshall's putting together a flag ceremony. So we're going to have some changes in that way, but we're really grateful to them for staying with us for purposes of doing that bit of service. Some of those students may go on to college or decide to do a different program this year, but for our students that are the younger ones, we're hoping that they stay. I'm going to share screen so that I can get my slideshow started. I want to let you all know how the program works, because what's super important is that you understand that we are not shut. Come August 1st, our committee will be doing interviews again for outbound students. We will not rest We did interviews of new students for purposes of this cycle, and we will do them for next cycle. And I'm hoping that we'll be able to do them in person again, and that we'll be at a Rotary Club hosting us in December for the second level of interviews. So the mission and logistics of RYE, I'm going to do some of our basics. World peace and understanding is fulfilled through young leaders who learn cultural tolerance and have international awareness. And basically our program is funded because the students and their parents pay for the cost of travel and incidentals, and the Rotary families, the host families, give them free room and board. The distinction in the two roles is that our committee tracks compliance and keeps international relationships going, monitoring the students and supporting placement. Whereas you as the clubs are handling the details of the inbound student's life, ensuring volunteers are trained, and screening the outbound applicants for us. So how does it work? From your perspective as a PE, what you need to know, club budgets are about $3,000. I encourage you as Rotary clubs to please, please, please have cross communication with not only our district committee, when we're all over the district, and I've provided you our list of where we are and who you can call, but talk to each other as PEs. There may be two clubs nearby each other that would really like to have a shared student. Obviously, that student would go to school in the primary community, but there's no reason why that student couldn't then go do service projects with the second club, or be hosted for a weekend or a holiday by the second club's host family. There's so many ways we can carve this up, so even the smallest of clubs can find a way to make this happen. Find 2 or 3 host families. Select an inbound student. We get the applications in, usually between February to March, we get the applications in, and then each club tries to pick the student that'll best fit their host family and their club environment. Review the training materials and select families. So you'll get trained by our district committee and you'll select your families with our support. And then you can also sponsor an outbound student. There's very little cost to that part of the process. You host an inbound while your outbound is actually exchanging. How do you find host families? Everybody goes, I can't find host families. The entire club should be the search committee. Host families come in many forms. Anyone over the age of 25 who has a secure job and a stable life can apply to be a host family. We had a teacher and her husband in Rio Rancho. They'd never had children before. They had 2 Rotary Exchange students before they ever had their own 2 beautiful boys. So it's a pretty exciting process to have a young family like that to support our students. A district committee member helps train the club youth exchange committee, and we are always here. Bianca is a great wealth of information. She does a lot of training for us. Here's our current exchange countries, just for your information. And I'm sorry that that's misaligned. I dropped this into a new format last night. But you know, we sure appreciate your support. We would like to take the 7 students or so that are currently on our list and push them into the next cycle of exchange. But to do that, we need all the clubs in the district to stay in there. We also need you to find us some more students for the next cycle of exchange. I'm hoping that our district committee maybe will be able to do a presentation in every single Rotary club, maybe just even by Zoom over the course of the next few months. So that's one of my current goals. So let us know, let Bianca and I know how we can jump in and give you presentations. Thanks very much for the time.
Thank you, Michelle. Awesome. So again, resources are on the website. The PowerPoint presentation with Michelle is very accessible. Just get a hold of her by email. And you know, one of the things I want you to encourage when you start your years is make sure you have a youth services chair in your club, and that they actually act as a committee instead of just one person being in charge of all the programs. If they can get an interact leader, a 4-way test leader, you know, even Rotaract, which is now really not a part of youth programs, it's an extension of youth programs, but find people, one person in your club, and really form a committee to work in these areas, and then we'll work with them going forward. So Dick, are you ready to show the video? Do you want to do that first?
Let's give it a try.
Okay. and we'll have you go right into crisis management from.
Okay.
We'll save the best for last. No, they're all good, but we'll have Shane tell about the new developments with Ryla and the Ryla Foundation when you're done.
Okay.
Hi, I'm Sarah Jones, District Chair of the Four-Way.
Nope, it's, give me a second.
You're sharing your screen. Are you sharing the right screen, do you think? There you go. Got it.
Hi, I'm Sarah Jones, District Chair of the Four-Way Test Essay Contest. Here with an update. This year, the district received 2 essays. One of them, unfortunately, I had to disqualify. Fortunately, the one essay that did qualify was well written and a fine example of how the four-way test is a tool you can use to make better decisions. Our winner, Daniela Figueroa from Cien Aguas International School, sponsored by Rio Grande South Albuquerque Club, will read her essay at the district conference on April 10th during youth programming. As always, I'm open to hear your ideas and suggestions to enrich our program. Thank you.
Great.
Okay, let me see if I can stop that one. And now we'll see.
Yeah, you all will be preparing for next year's weight test. You as president-elect will be, so look ahead. Don't wait till too late, and let's get a lot of contestants next year. I think it'll be a live conference next year and a lot of fun to have that presentation done next year if we can.
How's it going?
Screen, Dick? There you go.
Okay. Over the last year, Rotary has upped the level of communication and management that they want districts to be in compliance with. We had written a crisis communication plan and published it last July. And then we got word that we needed to beef it up to meet Rotary standards. So we have been working on that this last year. And we have involved the committee chairs from from our 3 Rotary programs, Youth Exchange, RILA, and Interact, Youth Protection, and our district leadership to come up with this policy. And basically, again, the policy is supervised by the district governor, but that responsibility has been shared with the crisis communication and management team, which is currently led by past district governor Dan Garrison. A crisis is simply an unanticipated event. It does not necessarily have to cause physical harm to the student or to the Rotarian. A crisis can also include criminal allegations against a Rotarian, a club, or a district. Basically, anything that could be detrimental to the image of Rotary would be considered a crisis. A word of warning here: if a youth is involved in the crisis, then the youth protection policies have to be brought into play immediately, and those 2 committees will be working hand in hand as we address that situation. The documents are posted very close to the youth protection policies on the district website under crisis management, but again, some of the things that we want you to know and remember right away, because in an emergency, your thinking might not be as clear as it normally would. So in preparing for crisis management and communication, these are the frequently asked questions that we provide answers to in the document. Who should know? Who should we share the information with? What should be done before the crisis? If you have a question before the crisis, what do you do? If that question comes up during the crisis, what do you do? And what do you do if you have a suggestion after the crisis? It is a relatively short document, but we feel that it is quite important for the club and the club leadership to be aware of it. We've created an acronym here to help you in times of trial to react as quickly as possible. And the word crisis can be remembered as call the district governor, make that phone call, let someone know. Reserve your conversation to those that need to know. Again, we are protecting the individuals that are involved in a situation, and we need to protect that information. Appoint or integrate a club member that will be the contact between the club and the district. Support the crisis management team with good communication. Do not act independently. The club members should not be speaking to the press. That's why we have press representatives for both the north and south areas of the district that have good working relationships with the media in those areas. So please use that team. And then summarize the activity by taking good notes and hang on to them, because it is going to be very important that we maintain record retention in this crisis. The next steps for you are to go to the website and download that policy, read it, and share it with your club. There will be, and this is a work in progress, there will be additional modules added to the policy that will be specific to each program. Each program is unique, and that uniqueness has to be honored. And we will do that by including modules in the basic policy. For example, in youth exchange, we're dealing with students that come from international countries, and their language skills, although might be very good, the language skills of their sponsoring clubs or their parents may not. So an important component of the youth program, the youth exchange program, is to have translators involved. Interact is dealing with as many different school districts as there are, and they have to work in union with each other to make that happen. And then the remoteness, the fact that it is in a forest, provides unique experiences and possibilities for RILA. So those will all be attached to the policy. As these updates become available, they will be emailed to each club president directly, and they will include a date for a training event. And that will be just a short 30 minute to 1 hour event where we will review the policy with you, give you any of the highlights that are necessary, and find out if there's anything that you feel that you need specifically on that module, and then we will work directly with you. In the document, there is a list of our team members. As I said, the Crisis Communication and Management team is chaired by past District Governor Dan Garrison, and I am the Youth Protection Officer for the district. So you have two places to start right there, but we give you all the contact information in the main document. Are there any questions?
No, Dick, we probably don't have time for questions, so I'll ask that if you send Dick a chat question and he can answer them directly for you. If you'll watch the chats, Dick, that would be
okay.
Pops up that we need to cover with everyone at the end. We have time, we can do it then. How's that?
That'll be fine.
Thank you, Dick. Thank you. So we're going to go right to RILA, and Shane Lamont has been our RILA chair for several years. There's a lot going on with RILA, and there's something new that you may or may not know about, and that is that we've set up a RILA 501c3 organization. And I'm going to have Shane cover what's going on currently with camp, which is not much, but then go spend most of his time talking about the new foundation and what you should prepare for next year's camp. Shane?
Thanks, Tony. Good to see everyone there. So many familiar faces and so many of you that have been involved in RILA over the years. I made a list of names, and I know we're running short on time, but raise your hand if you've been a counselor, if you've sent a kid, if you've toured the camp. I mean, I had a list of 20 some names, but we're not going to go there. But this is an amazing program, folks. If you haven't had your own kids that go to RILA come back and talk to your clubs, make sure you do. I also offer to all of you president-elects, if you ever need a RILA program and you feel that you might be short with the folks you have, let us know here at district level, and we can help you put together a program. We can do it from our end, and it can be pretty doggone entertaining, but we'll give you any help we can. We're absolutely saddened. You know, we didn't get to have RILA last year because of COVID, and just like the exchange student program, this summer we're not going to be able to have a live RILA. We looked at the possibilities of doing an online RILA, but as we've talked around our zone and across the country, folks that have looked at that have had really a terrible run of success. It just has not been successful whatsoever. So we decided to focus all of our efforts on two things. One, having the best camp we've ever had, July 2022. It will fall immediately after your president-elect years, but you'll have to be heavily involved because that will be the time frame in that spring that we're going to be organizing, getting the kids ready to go and having that camp. One thing that I'm working on right now is, first of all, a replacement for myself. I'll still stay involved heavily in RILA. I love it, but it's time to move on, let some other folks get involved. We're so excited about the changeover. Right now, we're looking at one of the lady counselors, Alice Melberg from Albuquerque, as being the new chairman down the road shortly. What we're doing right now as a group, and this group right now is Tony Pino as the boys camp director, Alice Melberg and Dr. Joan Lewis as the girl camp directors, and then in charge of all the logistics as it has been for 37 years, Bruce Davis. We are working to bring both camps together. We're still going to have two separate camps, but we are going to have a dynamite team that works together with one big idea as to how to make RILA so much better. I want to thank a few people that are here for what's just taken place. As Tony mentioned, we're excited that we now have a 501c3 for RILA. This work started with Tom Walker, with Linda Woodward. Linda, thanks for all the efforts. And Sonny Kellerman helped to finally pull this off. but there are two gentlemen, I believe, I see Bob Bernard and I believe John Bishop was on this screen. If it hadn't been for those two gentlemen and the help of Reg Ryder, we wouldn't be where we are. They filed the paperwork. We got this thing approved in less than 60 days. And I shouldn't say we, I should say John Bishop, Reg Ryder, and Bob Bernard. Give those guys a hand because this would finally happen. That was the one thing I prayed I would see happen before my time was up with being involved with RILA at the top end. So where we stand right now with the foundation, it's been a tough year when we look back at memories. RILA was started 41 years ago by two gentlemen here in our district, Sonny Brown from El Paso, who is still with us, thank goodness, even after COVID, and Henry Pick, who sadly we lost last summer. These gentlemen were instrumental in kicking this thing off. They've made it the biggest thing in our Rotary district. Our budget is the largest budget item in district, roughly $130,000 per year. So what we're going to do to honor those gentlemen with our new foundation is we're going to have some fellowships. You'll hear more about these, the setup of those at district conference, but we're going to honor them and it'll give us a way to add some funds to the foundation. In addition to that, many of you may remember the very first female district governor from 5520, Reba Lovren. Reba was instrumental in getting the first female girls camp up and going many years ago. We're going to have a fellowship to honor her. And finally, although we've had these great people that founded things and got them started, the crew at the foundation board also looked at a gentleman that has put 37 years into making sure this camp happens, that behind the scenes works harder than anybody, including myself, and that's Bruce Davis. We're going to start a logistics account in his honor to basically help with the basics of putting on the camp, raising money for the t-shirts, sports equipment, keeping our computers operating, our printers. Again, all of this will be discussed in great detail at district conference. We're proud of where we are. Couldn't have happened without the work of a lot of people. And I thank all of you guys for taking such a big interest in this great program. I'd love to see it carry through for years to come. The hope is with this foundation, if it builds a large enough corpus, that at some point in the very near future, perhaps we will never see scholarship prices increase. I'm starting to get nervous because I've watched them go from $450 21 years ago to now $700 for a scholarship. I'd love to see that stop and hold steady or even go down, because we're living on some of the earnings from what we might be able to create in the names of some great people. So thanks for your continued support. We're going to be looking for great people to be counselors at both boys and girls camp. We're going to start online courses through Zoom for anyone interested in being a counselor. Those will start up around May 1st. We'll be notifying you of that information, but let's make it a great world out there. And I wish all of you great success with your years as president. It's an awesome, awesome thing to do. Thank you very much.
Great. Thank you very much, Shane. We're going to be recruiting right away counselors for next year, boys and girls camp. So email me or get in touch with Shane or let somebody know you want to be interviewed. We'll go through an interview process and a screening process for that. But it's one of the best experiences you'll ever have. And to me, first time I did it, I did take vacation from work, but it was the best time I ever took off. I learned so much from those kids. It's just amazing. So as far as the foundation goes, look for messages from us about how your members can donate to the new foundation, how it'll work. Now that if you have a foundation in your club, now there's a mechanism for your foundation to donate to RILA. A lot of clubs have foundations where they're restricted from giving scholarships to individuals or sending checks to individuals, but you can send it to the camp. Just forming this foundation and saving tax savings alone with gross receipts and so forth is going to really put money in our budget to do more things for RILA. So any questions that you might have for Shane? We just have a few minutes to wrap up. I think we're good then, Jeff.
Awesome. Thank you, Tony, and thank you, everyone. We're going to go ahead and take a 15-minute break. We're a few minutes behind schedule, but we will catch that up. So let us reconvene at 11:15 11:33. Be punctual, please. 11:33.
We ready? Okay. It is my pleasure to introduce Jeff Cochran. He's Annual Giving Officer with the Rotary Foundation. He has a special focus on Zone 26 and 27. He's part of the greatest team at RI who helps Rotary leaders. That's you guys. He likes to acquire and retain and upgrade donors. The one that catches my eye, of course, is funding for more grants. Jeff received a degree from Loyola University in history and an MS in public service management from DePaul. Of course, I can't pronounce these universities. They're like way out there. He lives in Evanston, Illinois with his family. He's very active in the community. Jeff is a staunch advocate in Rotary's motto, service above self. It is with a smile and enthusiasm that I introduce our RI Annual Giving Officer, direct from Evanston. It's Jeff Cochran.
Well, hello, good morning, everyone. Linda, that was quite the buildup. I think you just set me up for failure. Everybody's going to be sorely disappointed with all those kind of words you just said about me. But thank you, that was lovely. Even though I asked you to say about 3/4 of them, that was really nice. We are here this morning. It's pet season, right? We're here to get you guys all trained up so that you know everything you're going to need to know about the Rotary Foundation, about annual giving, and everything that therein lies. So you're going to be experts on the foundation by the time I'm done with you here over the next hour. One quick side note that if you've been following the NCAA tournament, my alma mater, Loyola University Chicago, is playing today. And they're going to start at about 1:40 Central Time, which is probably earlier for you. So right when we wrap this up, I'm going to go watch my my school play some basketball. So go Loyola if you need somebody to root for. We could all use all the good mojo we can handle. So now that I got that out of the way, I will say that I have some small boys here running around the house. So if you hear any yelling or screaming, please know that everything is just fine. We're doing okay over here. It's just the quarantine world in which we live. I think, let me see here. I'm having a little trouble pulling this up. More technical issues when you know it. All right, well, maybe I can do this without having to go full screen. Can you guys see my PowerPoint okay? Give me a thumbs up or something if you can see it. Okay, great. Yeah, it's just not going full screen for me for some reason. Let me try it the old-fashioned way. Sorry about this, guys. Not working. All right, we'll try to do the best we can anyway. So let's get right into this. I'm gonna run through a few slides here, give you some information, but really I want to make sure that you have some time to ask any questions that you have about the foundation, about annual giving, about where we're at currently, about where we're headed. So as I run through these things, think about anything and everything that runs through your mind as it relates to the foundation, anything you've ever wanted to know but were afraid to ask. I'm here as a resource for you. I am, of course, available to you even after this. The next slide will have my contact information on it, so you can copy that down if you ever have anything that you need. After this, I'm happy to be a resource for you. But I know that District 5520 and all of the clubs therein, all of you, are doing an amazing job to support the foundation. Some of my favorite people are in 5520. One of my new favorites, Linda. We did really have a nice conversation earlier in the week, and we became fast friends. Thanks, Jeff, for getting me set up with the technical side of all of this. I've known Tom Walker for a long time, who's not DRFC anymore, but he's doing some amazing things in Rotary, and we love Tom and everything that he does to support the foundation. So thanks for everything that you do as a district and all of your clubs. We really appreciate you and your support. We can't do what we do without this. And obviously you are really the reason why Rotary exists, you and your clubs, to do all the amazing work that you do in the world. So let's get into this. Let's talk about some Rotary Foundation, shall we? One of the biggest reasons why we're able to meet here this afternoon, morning for you, I suppose, instead of in person, is due in large part to Rotary's dedication to Rotarians being people of action. And that fits perfectly with RA President Holger Knox's theme for the year. Rotary opens opportunities, and it's never been more clear than in our presently quarantined world. I've had the pleasure of meeting some incredible people since I've been with Rotary, your company included in that, of course. This morning, we're going to cover several topics in our time together. First, I want to give you a quick overview of the state of the Rotary Foundation with a particular focus on the annual fund. Second, we'll review some tangible ideas to develop a strategy to promote and support the annual fund within your clubs and District 5520. But before we get into that, I realize that to many of you, I'm a brand new face. My name is Jeff Cochran, and I'm the Annual Giving Officer for Zones 26 and 27, and by extension 5520. I've been with Rotary International for over 2 years, starting with Rotary's Club and District Support Team. Over a year ago, I joined the annual giving team supporting your zones and your district. I have nearly 2 decades of experience working in the nonprofit sector with various organizations, boards, and committees. As you can probably tell from my title, my focus as annual giving officer is the annual fund. Inasmuch I am a resource to you as Rotarians and volunteer fundraisers. I can help train, apply giving trends, and analyze data to help you empower Rotary leaders to support the foundation. And there you'll see on that slide in the bottom left, that's my contact information, my email address, my phone number. If things work out okay and I stop having these tech issues, I'll try to post that in the chat also. So you'll have that going forward, and you can copy it down if you need it. The Rotary Foundation has 7 total annual giving officers. 6 of us are located in Evanston, and we represent North and South America. We have 1 officer in Delhi working with Indian districts. And then, of course, we have several other fundraising professionals in international offices across the world. Additionally, there are other giving officers who work with your district in other capacities. You have a major gift officer, a planned giving officer. And if you have a need, we can definitely get you in touch with those individuals as well. Each of us has one overall goal, and that's to help you realize the mission of Rotary International in your communities. If you've ever taken the opportunity to read the mission statement of the foundation, I invite you to take the time now. It's often overlooked, but it gives an important context to the work that we do and what we're about to talk about today. If we drill down the Rotary Foundation's mission even further, another asset we have at our disposal when promoting the annual fund are our 7 areas of focus. Regardless of one's preferred cause, RI speaks to everyone's passion. No matter how you choose to give, I hope that one of our biggest takeaways is gifts of any size have an impact when they're leveraged through the foundation and our network of Rotarians here and around the world. Supporting the foundation is as important as it's ever been, probably more important now, in fact. I encourage you to support others with a gift to the foundation and the annual fund this year. Here we have a little breakdown, a quick snapshot of last year's giving and just a quick perspective. We raised $140 million overall for the annual fund. This current year, we've been able to fund 1,416 global grants. That's a record pace. We've never had at this point in any given year in the past this many global grants funded. This doesn't even include district grants, which obviously would blow this out of the water. I think that puts us over 2,100 actually total grants if we include district grants. And believe it or not, only 31% of Rotarians support the annual fund. And when you consider all of the amazing dollars that we raise for the foundation, and all of that money goes back to all of you and your district in the form of grants, either global or district, the fact that only 31% of Rotarians support those efforts is pretty mind-blowing. So if we can raise that number by any extent, just imagine all the amazing work we can do in the world. At this point, I want to circle back and talk a little bit more about disease prevention and treatment, and more specifically, Rotary's approach to COVID-19 and the Disaster Response Fund. Before I get into that, though, let's talk a little bit about polio. I'm sure you know that since 1989, one of Rotary's main efforts has been the Polio Plus Fund. Past year, August 25th of 2021, the World Health Organization officially certified Nigeria as completely free of the wild polio virus, an amazing accomplishment. And by extension, that means the entire continent of Africa is free of wild polio. We should be freaking out about that more than we actually are. It's a pretty amazing thing, which leaves just 2 countries left in the world where we can find the wild polio virus, Afghanistan and Pakistan. And we've been making major inroads in the past couple of years, but this year specifically, we've only had 1 recorded case between those 2 countries. Amazing. And it's a redoubled effort, number one, by us, Rotary International, but also those countries as well. Before he became officially president of Rotary International in his president-elect year, Holger Knock visited representatives from and leadership from those 2 countries and met to just reaffirm and reestablish our relationship with them, make sure they knew the severity and the implications of what it meant to be wild polio free. They clearly understand it. They reaffirm their effort, and it shows with just 1 recorded case so far this year. It's clear that they're committed just as much as we are. So amazing stuff. We hope that this trend continues, and maybe in 3 years down the road, we can declare them wild polio free as well. Amazing work. Since its inception, the very first year in 1989, the Polio Plus Fund raised $120 million. We now have an amazing partnership with the Gates Foundation, where they match our efforts 2 to 1. And so our goal in this relationship with the Gates Foundation is to raise $50 million. And then the Gates Foundation will match every $1 of that with $2 of their own, for a total of $150 million by the end of the year. This relationship it's been reestablished once already for a 3-year relationship. So this is the 5th year of 2 3-year terms that we've had with them. It's been a great relationship, and it really does help us in our efforts to make sure that the world can be wild polio free. All right, let's go back and talk a little bit about the coronavirus and what Rotary is doing in that respect. Countries with logistics in place to address polio are well positioned to combat coronavirus in several respects, especially those countries that we've already talked about, Afghanistan, Pakistan, and Nigeria. Not mentioned here are the hundreds of clubs who are making a daily impact with the help of disaster and district grants to alleviate the hardships caused by the illness. In response to this new challenge, the foundation trustees made available a total of $3 million in grants for districts and clubs to apply. These 120 grants of $25,000 each were met with an unprecedented response. What's even more impressive is the outpouring of support from individual Rotarians who've given over $1 million to the Disaster Response Fund. In addition to this incredible work, I'm so excited to add to this the new 7th area of focus, which was approved last year by the Board of Directors and Trustees and introduced after the virtual international convention. Supporting the environment is now gathering funding for grant activity, and these funds will be made available. We're hopeful by July 1st of 2021, which would be the beginning of next Rotary year. But in reality, it might be sometime in the middle of the Rotary year, in fact. So sometime very soon, we'll be able to start taking grant requests for supporting the environment. All right. Regardless of a Rotarian's passion, it's clear that the foundation's impact is felt far and wide. That's due in large part to the tireless work that you do in the world. Our trustees set some audacious goals this Rotary year to support this work even further. With a substantial goal of $410 million across all funds, the Rotary Foundation is nicely positioned to achieve its most ambitious year on record. Things have clearly changed in the past year especially, and we can't be sure what the rest of the year will look like given the interruptions COVID-19 will undoubtedly present. But our leadership asked, and to date, Rotarians have delivered. If we dive a little bit deeper into the actual numbers, we'll see that there are some notable changes from last year. With this current year about 3/4 of the way finished, we can see a pretty clear idea of the trends in our giving this year. At $66.7 million, the annual fund is down ever so slightly at 4.0%. Polio Plus is down 2.0%, which really isn't too bad, all things considered. We're still trending in a really nice direction, and hopefully with a strong push by the end of the Rotary year, both of those funds will meet the goals that we have to work towards. The endowment fund at 29% is down pretty significantly, but we've done really well in the past couple of years with the endowment. And so even if we do end up down on the endowment this year, we're still on a pretty nice pace to reach what is really, especially for a nonprofit organization, an amazing goal of $2.025 billion by 2025. It's the goal that the trustees set, I think it's 3 or 4 years ago now, to establish a just over $2 billion endowment to support the grant work that Rotary does, which speaks well to the future of the organization. I like to think that regardless of what the economic circumstances would look like when that fund is established, that endowment is established, that we'll be able to continue to provide grants and grant activity regardless of what's going on in the world. So we're pretty hopeful about that. And then you can see overall, we're sitting at $263.2 million on the year, which is down 5.1%. So just down ever so slightly. We do want to encourage everyone to continue the strong fundraising efforts so we can meet these goals. And truthfully, compared to where we are normally each year, we usually are down at this time every year. So it's not unprecedented, but we don't want to rest on our laurels and end up down. We want to make sure that we finish with a strong effort in the last quarter of the year. All right. So just a quick snapshot of where the district is at. You can see, there's a strong effort year over year to support the foundation. 2018-19 was a little bit of an aberration in that it was huge. It was a really substantial pull for the district overall. And I think right now, as trending across the rest of Rotary, we are down slightly this current year in the district. That doesn't mean we'll end up there. That just means that's where we're at now. But overall, I think things are looking promising. And of course, there's always work to be done, regardless of how strong a district is turning out for the foundation. So just to kind of give you a quick idea of what things look like and maybe some ideas to take back to your club as far as goal setting of your own. If you haven't set a goal for your club, I encourage you to do that. Not that it really has any major implications overall, but goals can't raise if they don't know what their goal is. And so we all need goals in life, and your club is no different. So please think about what goal you'd like to have for your club in your year, and work towards it. Going back to my point before, where we really embrace and encourage every Rotarian to give, regardless of giving level. It's a lot of numbers on your screen, so let me break this down for you. Really what this means, and I want you to pay special attention to those 2 green circled bands. These are the giving levels of Rotarians and the gifts that come into the foundation, right? So each dollar amount is a gift that's come in at that level. And you can see, corresponding with those $1,000 and those $100 giving groups, those are the most substantial giving groups that we have in Rotary. Might be a little bit surprising to see that, considering it's not a major gift. It's not a 5, 6, 7-figure gift that comes in. It's those $100 and those $1,000 level givers that really drive the foundation, support everything that you do, and allow these grant dollars to become a reality. The point behind this is that we don't want to overlook anyone's giving, regardless of a Rotarian's comfort level in giving. Wherever they're able to go, meet them there. And I encourage you to come up with strategies in your club that embrace every level of giving. We love our major donors. We don't want to ever turn away a major gift, of course, but we don't count on those to drive the foundation. It really is the $100 and $1,000 giving levels, and even below that, that we really embrace and encourage giving. You'll also notice that corresponds nicely with a couple of recognitions that we have in Rotary. E-Ray and Sustaining Member, Paul Harris Fellow, and Paul Harris Society, of course, are those $1,000 giving groups. And then what I mentioned earlier, E-Ray and Sustaining Member, those $100 givers. So people really strive for those recognitions, and you can incorporate that into your club strategy as a giving goal. Make those really plain to Rotarians in your club, and make sure they know what those recognitions mean and why it's so important that we do support the foundation in so many ways. So I'll just give you a quick, to wrap up here, I'll give you a quick overview of some of those recognitions and what they mean specifically. I won't spend too much time on the numbers at the bottom there. Again, it's just another quick snapshot of what's going on in the district when it comes to those recognitions. E-Ray, Sustaining Member, Paul Harris Society, and Paul Harris Fellow. So you can take those away with you, but we won't spend too much time on those. Let me catch up here in my notes real quick. All right, here we are. With so much disruption in our normal processes and the potentiality that traditional payment methods may become temporarily unavailable, especially due to the coronavirus, Rotary Direct expedites your gift and ensures that it reaches your designated fund. Last year, nearly 1,000 more Rotarians signed up for Rotary Direct, yielding a full 2% increase in donations. Rotary Direct is invaluable in our giving goals and will pace the success in meeting our goal for this year, especially considering the potential disruptions in traditional payment methods like checks. And just an aside on that, when a Rotarian sends a check in, especially to World Headquarters, there's a delay in processing right now because we don't have any employees in the building. It's tough to process checks. We do have a small team that goes in every week to 2 weeks to try to collect any donations that have come in. But obviously we're not as consistent as we'd like to be at this point. So Rotary Direct and the donations portal really are your easiest ways to provide donations and make sure that they get to the secured fund that you'd like it to be at. Rotary Direct, of course, you can sign up for a monthly, quarterly, or yearly donation. And it's meant to be self-service, so you can easily change anything that you want to when you sign up for that service. But it really is a great tool to help enable you to give and support the foundation. A couple more complimentary recognitions that we actually have already mentioned: Paul Harris Fellow and Paul Harris Society. A Rotarian will increase their Paul Harris Fellow level, as you know, for each $1,000 given, which works out to be about $84 a month through Rotary Direct to achieve both of the recognitions. Similarly, Paul Harris Society simply asks Rotarians to commit to giving $1,000 each year to the annual fund Polio Plus or an approved foundation grant. There's, of course, Sustaining Member, which encourages each Rotarian to give $100 each year to the Rotary Foundation. Through Rotary Direct, you can only sign up for a minimum of $10 a month. So that would work out to be about $120 over the year, but obviously that'll get you to the Sustaining Member goal. And then, of course, E-Ray, which is a club recognition, but relies heavily on Rotarian giving. That's another nice strategy that if you haven't ever achieved even 100% E-Ray in your club, that's a nice goal to work towards. So I encourage you to take a look at that too as a strategy to support giving. And then lastly, there's, you may have heard about these. The trustees just announced that there are some changes to the funding model. So here's a quick summary of what those changes look like, and then what we hope the implications and cost saving will be in making these changes. The truth behind these changes is that ultimately it allows us at Rotary and the Rotary Foundation to be more responsive as an organization. I don't know if you've ever seen big changes that need to happen in a short amount of time in Rotary, but sometimes it feels like turning the Titanic. So it's not always realistic to make these kinds of changes. So in anticipation of these changes and what will need to happen to the funding model, the trustees decided to act and make sure that we responded quickly to the changing world around us. So ultimately, these are great changes. It will allow us to be more effective in the granting process and be more responsive to you as Rotarians and to your clubs. So hopefully I can answer any questions that you have about this, of course. But I think overall the impact will be great in the long run. And that's really it for me. I really appreciate being here with you. And I am open to your questions. So please feel free to fire away. Make me earn it today.
Jeff, we have a question in the chat from Bill. Has Rotary International asked the question, what's next after polio?
Such a great question. It's one we get pretty regularly. We are, as we talked about, really close to ending polio worldwide, correct? So that's a natural question to ask. There are people way above my pay grade on the 18th floor of World Headquarters who are talking about that as we speak and having those conversations. Right now, what I will say is that we are fully and wholly focused on ending polio. That's our priority. We do hope that it will end. I think I heard past RA President John Germ mentioned his hope is that that will happen in the next 5 years. But of course, anything can happen. What does that goal realistically look like? We really can't say, right? The world is constantly changing. Some point down the road, my goodness, that's a hard word sometimes, road. We will end polio. It's going to happen. So what happens next is really up for debate and question. There might be another giant unifying project for Rotary. There might not be anything at all. Maybe we'll just say these areas of focus that we have are what's in store for us. But right now we're committed to ending polio. And what I'll say in addition to that is that even when we are certified, the entire world is wild polio free, there's still going to need to be support efforts to make sure that polio doesn't come back. And even still, even though wild polio is eradicated, there's still other variants of polio that need to be dealt with. So that will be a focus of ours as well. So our focus on polio will not be completely gone once that happens.
Do we have any other questions for Jeff? You can unmute or you can put your question in the chat.
Yes, Jeff, this is Donna Pedacci. This year, Rotary International dropped the matching funding for global grants due to the financial situation. Is that intended to be permanent or temporary?
That's a great question. Thank you, Donna, for asking that. It is not intended to be permanent, although with the changes to the funding model, there is a slight alteration to the way that grants are matched. Every year, and as you know, based on the funding cycle, Rotarians give to support the World Fund, which is where global grants come from. And then that's also the portion of DDF that comes back to the district. It's invested for 3 years. After that 3 years, then that distribution is made. So the budget that's made for grants comes from the donations that were given 3 years before. It became clear to the trustees early on in the year that because of the record pace of granting that's happened this year, we were going to run out of money in the World Fund. So they made the decision to stop the match, and that's for this year. If it needs to happen again based off of the number of grants that happen, I'm sure that they'll take a similar action, but the hope is that it'll just be for this current Rotary year, and we won't need to repeat that process going forward. But then again, all of you are just too good at grant activities, so who knows, maybe it will need to happen down the road at some point. It's another tool and another lever that the trustees reserve to make sure that we can continue to function and grant in an effective way.
Thank you.
Jeff, a question comes up pretty much every year, sometimes at PETS and sometimes at other training, and I'm wondering if we can get your perspective. A lot of our clubs have their own foundations, and sometimes clubs will, struggle to determine how to balance between contributions to their club foundation and contributions to the Rotary Foundation. Do you have any advice, especially for the presidents-elect, on how to find that appropriate balance?
Well, first of all, what I'll say is that there's no one at the Rotary Foundation overall that will tell you that we think club foundations are a bad idea. And in fact, we all feel like there's room for club foundations and the Rotary Foundation in general to coexist in happiness and peace. We really do appreciate the efforts that club foundations put out into local communities, especially. They do such important work. So what the Rotary Foundation overall does is not meant to take the place. And in fact, in many instances, because of the size of what we do in Evanston, we're not in a position to do what club foundations do. So you do an amazing job in club foundations as well. So we really appreciate that effort. It is sometimes a high wire act and a balancing effort that there needs to be a happy balance there, right? So that we can support both. And I wish I had the secret key to that. I don't really know what the answer is, although I think club leadership and especially club presidents are in a unique position to understand what the needs of the local community and what the club foundation are. And I think trying to educate and raise awareness for both of those organizations in tandem really is how that harmony and that coexistence is allowed to be in the world. So I think just making everyone aware of the need for both and why they're both so vitally important to the work that we do in Rotary is really key to that.
Thank you. Do we have other questions for Jeff?
As we think of more questions, I'm going to put my contact information in the chat so that you have it and you can write it down if you didn't get it earlier.
And I did put a copy of Jeff's PowerPoint into the pets section of Club Runner so you can all get access to it.
If any of you are ever in Evanston, Illinois, please look me up. I'd love to go grab a cup of coffee with you. And, we do give tours of the building too. You can shake Paul Harris's hand. We don't have him on life support or anything. It's a statue, so he's pretty safe to touch. We wipe him down too, this being the age of COVID, so no worries there. But yeah, please look us up if you're ever in town.
Jeff, we have a question from Gordon Cox. Gordon, why don't you go ahead?
Yes, hi there, Jeff. After Polio Plus, where is the next two areas that the Rotary Foundation money is going to?
Good question. We talked a little bit about that a minute ago when polio was eradicated. Polio Plus will most likely be around for many, many years, simply because the need and the need to continue to support polio eradication efforts won't end just because the world is certified wild polio free. Like I said, there's other variants of polio out there. There's other needs for support. People have and are currently still being affected by polio. So there's need for accessibility issues. People who are in wheelchairs because of polio who've been paralyzed, they'll need to continue to be supported. So I fully expect the Polio Plus Fund to be around for a very long time. Although probably once the world is wild polio free, I'd imagine that there won't be as much of an emphasis on the Polio Plus Fund. So those dollars will be freed up to go elsewhere, and maybe they'll go to other areas of focus. Maybe we'll ask to focus on the endowment for a while. I don't really know what the strategy looks like as far as that goes, but there's other opportunities to give. And, needless to say, Rotary is going to be able to do some pretty amazing work once that happens.
Other questions for Jeff?
Thank you, Jeff, so much for being here today and taking time away from rah-rah team. We wish your team all the best. We really do. And come see us sometime whenever time allows you to do that. We're probably one of the friendliest, most hospital districts you'll ever get to meet. Right, guys?
Well, you've been so friendly and nice to me here this afternoon. I really appreciate it. I keep threatening Tom with a visit down to your neck of the woods, as he knows. See, look, he's shaking in his boots right now. But I'm desperate to get back out on the road and do some Rotary trips. So once I have the opportunity to travel again, once the General Secretary frees up staff to be able to travel and get out on the road, you are a priority for me. So I'm sure I'll see you before too long.
Well, we definitely have the best food. I mean, who can
That's enough. That's enough. That's all you have to say is the food gets me.
Yeah, green chili, right, guys. But again, thank you. We appreciate you taking time out of your busy weekend with boys to visit with us. So thank you so much.
And like I said, I'm a resource for you. So if there's anything that you need, don't hesitate to reach out. I'm happy to help in any way that I can.
Well, you have me at Grants, so there. Okay, thank you, guys.
Thank you, Linda.
Thanks, Jeff.
Thank you, Jeff. So we are a few minutes early. We knew we would catch up. And just so you understand, this is not one full day of PETS training. This is 2 half days of PETS training. And so congratulations that you finished the first half of today. Please enjoy your lunch, and we will reconvene for the 4th and final section of PETS starting at 1 o'clock. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.